Yo, welcome back to another video. It's your boy Corteman. Um, this heel run that Jey Uso was supposedly gonna be on soon. Um, he could be the next Roman Reigns. I'm not saying he gotta do a hundred spears. Roman Reigns wasn't the tribal chief because he used a spear. Um, let's see. He gotta drop that eat stuff. Like we gotta kill that. Kill that. Somebody gotta say it during while he out there. They like eat. He like shut your mouth. And the whole crowd like ah, ah. And then they just stop singing. I doubt they will. It's gonna be like Stone Cold. They're gonna be like yeet, yeet, yeet.
The Jey Uso heel turn will be generational and it will without a question save the current trajectory of the WWE. So, how would the heel's advocate book this heel turn? It all starts off following the whole LA Knight drama with Jey Uso, where he speared LA Knight at the end of Monday Night Raw, where his brother Jimmy looked at him confused. This will follow into the next few weeks where Jey Uso is just continuously being harassed and berated by Jimmy for not being himself. Jey says, I've had it with being myself. Look at us. The Vision is beating us. Why? Because you, Jimmy, you just couldn't do what needed to be done. You just couldn't go out of our way and just completely smash these fools. You had a weak heart. And Jey tells Jimmy to stop saying that Jey is not himself anymore. That the old Jey has to come back, but that is a dead version of himself. And then Jimmy says, I don't care what you want. And then immediately Jey slaps Jimmy right across the face. And then he points his finger right in his face and he says, stop, I already told you. And then right away, LA Knight gets in between Jimmy and Jey. And then Jey looks at LA Knight totally confused, thinking to himself, didn't I spear you a few weeks ago? Don't you have enough? Haven't you stuck your nose where it doesn't belong for far too long, LA? And then LA Knight immediately cheap shots Jey Uso to get his receipt back for getting speared. And then Jey Uso rolls out of the ring. He looks back into the ring at Jimmy and then he says, never let anybody come in between our family, Jimmy. Never make this mistake again. The Vision has completely destroyed our cousin Roman, and you don't want to get revenge? You don't want to go the extra mile to get revenge and put a beating on Bronson Breakker? You don't want to do that? Jey says, let me ask you a question, Big Jim. What has gotten into you? And then he walks up back on the ramp, and he goes backstage. As Jey's walking backstage, Jimmy just runs back up to him and he says, Jey, come on, man, stop doing this. You're not yourself. And then at that moment, Jey Uso completely snaps and he says to him, what do you mean myself, huh? Being myself got my title lost. Being myself got me kicked out of the main event of WrestleMania after winning the Royal Rumble. Being myself has gotten my cousin Roman, our cousin, hurt. That is what being myself has gotten me. I am done doing what I want to do. I am done being myself, and from now on, I will do what is best for this family. Jimmy immediately tells Jey, come on, relax, man. Come on, you've done so well for yourself. Just enjoy what you have done. Just be yourself, Oos. And then Jey snaps for one last time. He says, be myself. I've already told you, Oos. Stop saying that. And anyway, what do you mean, huh? Do you want me to be like you? You've never even won the world title. And then Jey walks off, Jimmy looking completely stunned. And for the next few weeks, Jey Uso is nowhere to be seen on Monday Night Raw. And so Jimmy Uso and LA Knight have to team up against the Vision, but in a fleeting effort, the Vision comes out on top. Once again, after the match, Bronson and Breakker take measures into their own hands and they start beating down on Jimmy and LA Knight. And this time around, there is no Jey, there is no Roman to save them, and they are completely helpless. So we thought. Jey's music hits and he rushes down into the ring. He clears house. And then Jey looks at LA Knight, who is sitting down in the corner. And then he looks at Jimmy and then he says, this is now the way things have to be done. And he completely goes in there and he assaults LA Knight. He beats him bell to post. He puts him through a few tables. And then he rolls him back into the ring. He puts a steel chair under the head of LA Knight. And then he stands over LA Knight, setting him up signaling for a concerto. He looks out into the crowd, he swings the chair back, and then he stops. He looks at Big Jim, and then he says, "You finish this job right now, Jimmy." He holds out the chair to Jimmy. Jimmy looks back at Jay in total disgust. He takes the chair, he stands over LA Knight, he swings the chair back, and then he just lets the chair go. He says, "No, I can't do this." And then Jey Uso nods to himself. He says, "Fine." And then the cameras pick it up. Jay says, "It didn't have to be this way, Jimmy. But now, this is the only way." Jimmy looks very confused, and boom, he gets hit with a super kick, and the crowd just gasps in total shock. The cameraman pans to kids in the crowd who are just crying and just sad, and they just can't believe at what Jey Uso did. Jay drags the unconscious Jimmy right next to LA Knight, and he goes in for a double concerto on both LA Knight and Jimmy Uso, his own blood brother, his own twin. And as he swings the chair back, Jay looks up in the crowd, and in a brief moment he comes quickly back to his senses. He shakes his head, and then he drags away Jimmy Uso from LA Knight. He stands back over LA, and he finishes the job. He hits LA Knight with a concerto right there in the center of the ring. As Jimmy quietly wakes up, he just looks at the crime scene that his own twin brother created in that ring, and he is stunned, he is speechless. And as Jey Uso walks out of the ring, he walks by his twin brother Jimmy, and then he says to him, "It didn't have to be this way." And then he walks up, he jumps the barricade, he walks into the crowd while everybody's booing him, doing a bunch of thumbs down. A few kids are shoving him, and now the whole heel turn is finally solidified. Jey Uso is walking down a path he knows there is no return from. As he walks up on the stairs, for a brief moment he turns around and he glances back at the ring at what he has done, and then he turns back into the crowd and he keeps walking. The following week on Monday Night Raw, Jimmy Uso comes out to totally condemn what his twin brother did, and he says he doesn't understand why he is doing what he's doing. What has gotten into him, because this has never been like him. And after turning heel, Jey Uso doesn't come out to any type of music whatsoever or any lights. He simply walks out from the crowd just as he used to do, and while there are still some people trying to yeet, Jay reveals a new t-shirt that says "No Yeet," and he condemns the yeet movement, and he walks down into the ring. Jimmy and Jay finally get face to face, and right away Jimmy slaps Jay with tears in his eyes and says, "What's gotten into you, Oos? What are you doing?" Jay says, "Big Jim, never put your hands on me ever again, Oos. From now on out, I will do things the only way I've seen work. I've tried doing things my way, but look where it has gotten me. I won the Royal Rumble, I had my main event, and that gets taken away from me. I lose my world championship and I don't even get my title shot back. This is from now on the way we do things. No, screw that. The way I do things. The way main event Jey Uso does things. I mean, look at the bloodline, Oos. We were at the top. Why? Because we did what needed to be done. Ain't that what Roman showed us? Ain't that what Roman has proven to us? I mean, come on. How long was Roman champion because of us? And now you want to act ignorant? Now you want to act like a fool? Now you want to act like a saint? Now you want to act like you weren't a part of that? From day one, I was the one who tried to go against Roman. From day one, I didn't want any of this. And while I was fighting Roman, what did you do, Jimmy? You weren't by my side, you stuck by his side. You were the right lapdog for the job, so don't even come here and try and give me the whole moral high ground, because you were much worse than I ever was. I tried to stop this from the beginning, but you didn't. Jimmy's got nothing left to say to Jay, because he knows Jay is right. And then Jay tells him, I mean, look at us. We have left Roman, and look at the state of Roman. He ain't got us no more, Oos. And look, he can't take care of himself. The Vision has completely laid him out once again. On a stretcher, they beat him down. On a stretcher, they beat him down. And where were you? I came out to help Roman. Where were you? Jimmy looks at Jay with a face that acknowledges where he's coming from. And he understands that from Jay's point of view that he is completely right. And then Jay just simply scoffs, and then he says, I knew it. Look at how quiet you are. I knew you were a rat. to begin with. From the beginning, you were a rat. And then Jey Uso unleashes an unhinged assault on his twin brother, beating him across the ring, putting him through tables, busting him up. And this sets up their main event match at Survivor Series, the first ever proper singles main event PLE that Jey Uso has ever had. And all he had to do for this was simply turn to the dark side. Jimmy and Jey have an all-star classic match at Survivor Series in a no disqualification matchup. Jey realizes at some stage in the match that he cannot beat his brother's will. He simply won't stay down for the 3 count. So Jey Uso does what he couldn't do for the first time, and he sets Jimmy up for a concerto. But this time around, it truly takes a lot of digging and hyping himself up with tears in his eyes to swing that chair over the head of his twin brother. But ultimately, Jey Uso, he musters up the courage, and he does it anyway. He smashes the chair onto the head of his twin brother, the man he shared a womb with, the man he shares the same look with, his own blood twin brother, his identical twin. Jey Uso did the unthinkable, leaving Jimmy in a pool of his own blood. Jey simply can't even get himself to look at his own twin brother laying there in the middle of the ring. Jey refuses to look at him as he's going in for the pin. With tears in his eyes, the referee counts 1, 2, 3, and Jey Uso has beaten his twin brother. As Jey stands over Jimmy, with tears rolling down his face, a familiar sound echoes through the arena. If you smell, and the final boss makes his grandiose return to the WWE. The Rock walks down into the ring with a cold, stoic look on his face. He gets into the ring holding the People's Championship. He puts his hands on the face of Jey. He takes the microphone and he says, "Jey, it didn't have to be this way, but now this is the only way." The Rock wipes away the tears on Jey's face, and he goes in to put the People's Championship on Jey Uso's shoulders. Jey Uso is now the People's Champion. The Rock says, "You are now not only my champion, but also theirs." And The Rock points into the crowd as the show goes off air. The following week, Jey and Rock come out on Monday Night Raw and announce that he will once again enter the Royal Rumble and genuinely main event WrestleMania this time around and walk out with the World Championship. Jey says, "I've already gotten the man I need to beat in my mind." Jey says, "Cousin, let them know who it is." And he hands the mic over to The Rock, and The Rock says with a smile on his face, "Mama Rhodes, where's your son, Mama Rhodes?" And then boom, Cody's music hits, and Cody walks down into the ring. He can't understand what has happened to Jey Uso, but he realizes it's got everything to do with The Rock. Cody says, "Look, if you got what it takes to win the Royal Rumble again, just like I did back to back, to finish my story, then I will welcome your challenge, Jey. And Rock, I've already beaten one of your puppets, and I would gladly do it again." Cody Rhodes drops the mic, and then The Rock smiles as Cody walks away. It is now the 2026 Royal Rumble, and Jey Uso manages to make the final stage of the match, and now he is alone in the middle of the ring awaiting number 29. The music hits, and it's Sami Zayn, the honorary Uso. The crowd pops, but there is no smiles, no goofs, and Sami Zayn is all business. Jey understands that he needs to take care of this imposter Uso, of this honorary Uso, and he is one step closer to achieving what he has set out to do, which was winning this year's Royal Rumble. As the two duke it out, the countdown for number 30 goes down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the Tribal Chief has returned. The crowd erupts, and as Roman Reigns is finally on screen, he walks into the ring very slowly. He's got a face that is just so disappointed and disgusted. He finally gets into the ring, and then he looks at Jey, and then he says, "Jey, it didn't have to be this way." Jey looks down at the mat, and then he looks back up at Roman and says, "No, Uso, it didn't, but now it is the only way." And all three start fighting, and both Sami and Roman start ganging up on Jey, and they're going in to push him out of the ring and eliminate him from the Royal Rumble. And just as they're about to push him over the top rope, if you smell, The Rock, the final boss, walks down into the ring angrily, and he stares down with Roman. Rock, in the 2015 Royal Rumble, saved Roman, and he helped him win the Royal Rumble. And now it is 11 years later, and Roman immediately remembers what happened 11 years earlier. If it wasn't for The Rock, Roman Reigns wouldn't have won the Royal Rumble and he wouldn't have main evented WrestleMania. The Rock points at Roman and then he says, "Never turn your back on family." Then right away, Sami Zayn launches himself at The Rock, and The Rock catches him and hits him with a rock bottom. And then right away, as Sami Zayn gets up, Jey Uso hits him with a super kick, and then Sami Zayn goes flying out of the ring. The Rock and Jey are standing side by side looking at Roman and say, "So Roman, what will it be?" Roman looks disgusted and beaten down. He shakes his head and he immediately goes in to Superman punch Jey Uso. Then Roman goes in to Superman punch The Rock, and then The Rock catches him midway through and hits him with a rock bottom. Jey Uso connects with a frog splash. Roman Reigns gets up, and then Jey Uso hits him with a super kick that sends Roman over the top rope. And now we have the 2026 Royal Rumble winner, main event Jey Uso. He has done it again. He has won back-to-back Royal Rumble, something Cody Rhodes said he wasn't able to do. And so this sets up the match between Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso at WrestleMania 42. A match in which Jey Uso once again needed a cheat, but this time around it came from the help of his brother. But it wasn't Jimmy Uso. His youngest brother, Solo Sikoa, sides with his older brother Jey Uso, and he brings his MFTs with him. He helps cheat and defeat Cody Rhodes, and they help Jey win the WWE Undisputed World Championship. Main event Jey Uso has finally, legitimately arrived.
That was cool. I was about to get off, and I saw Solo Sikoa, and I said, "No,